So let's talk a little bit about changes of state in God's Word. Actually comes up a lot, and once again, it's a scientific idea that gets used for imagery, right? The scientific idea of changes of state gets used to represent something else. And a lot of the time, when we hear about changes of state, a really common one is melting. Okay, that comes up a lot. And they talk about melting hearts, right? So in our culture today, if I say, oh, my heart melted, normally it's a kind of a nice thing. It's like I saw a picture of my niece and I'm like, oh, it's so nice. My heart melts. In the Bible, it doesn't really mean that. In the Bible, when it talks about people's hearts melting, it's a loss of courage. It's like, your guts turn to water kind of thing. Yeah, it's actually not a very nice image in the Bible when someone's heart melts. So, for example, if you look at Deuteronomy chapter 1, you see a recount of the story of when they arrive at the promised land and they go suss it out, and then they get a good report back about the promised land, but they get a scary report about the people that are there, and it says that their hearts melt, and it means they lose courage. And look, why did they lose courage? Well, it's because they found it hard to trust in God's promise. God had promised them certain things and He was asking them to act on it, and their hearts melted. They lost courage and they found it hard to act on what God had asked them to do. I wonder if you know what it's like to have your heart melt like that. I feel like it's a familiar thing to me, and I'm gradually learning to trust God more. How do I work around that heart melting thing? Well, bit by bit, I'm learning to believe what God says about me, believe what God says about Himself and how He is acting towards me, and to trust in His promises. It's not an easy thing to do. Something worth thinking about.